Yeah, I suppose, big time of the year, I suppose, for brands. It's a really weird industry in some respects. Maybe not as much for yourself, Lauren, because you have the retail footprint there as well. But for a lot of brands, they're going to do like 50% of their revenue in like a 4 to 6 week window, which is a bit nuts to think about. And I suppose the main lever that most brands have at their disposal is marketing spend. But I suppose, how do you balance and think about that marketing spend, and more importantly, how do you quantify the success of that marketing spend going into such a condensed buying window like we have in e-commerce today? I might start with yourself, Leighton, on that one.
Yeah, it's so funny how the answers to those questions just change every year. Like you asked me last year, I probably would have kind of tapped into some like tracking software and trying to measure the ROAS side of things on the platforms. But in regards to track, like I'm tracking it like it's just any other sales period. The North Star metrics that we're looking at is obviously your net sales, the MER, and then the new customers and the repeat customers is a conversation that, like, it sounds very obvious, but very transparently wasn't really having it that frequently with brands over the years. But now it's something that we're measuring very frequently, and probably one of the main reasons we actually are doing it is because a lot of these brands are like 4 or 5 years old. They're doing 7 figures in revenue, and they already have like their presence, and they have a lot of revenue there, and the revenue is pretty much stagnant, or they're increasing 5 or 10% per year. But they never actually were looking at their new customers month on month. Their sales looked great, but that's because they had been building a brand for so many years, and they had this huge volume of sales. So with some of the brands, when I actually sit down with them and I measure, and I'm saying, look, you haven't really increased your new customers month on month. Like if we put a real strategy in here and focus on the new customer side of things, we could have a much more stronger impact in this quarter. So that's one too. Looking at that on a percentage basis, your new customer versus your repeat customer is really important. And I'd say just like look at them like as the sales period with those North Star metrics, and then also new customer acquisition cost, and then a step down to that from a tracking and from a reporting standpoint. Yeah, we're really just mainly focusing on the creative standpoint of the platforms. We're not actually genuinely looking at ROAS. Like we'll throw our eye over it, but we won't make really any decisions based off it. We will just look at all the creatives that we have in there, the different angles, the different videos, UGC and images, and based on the click-through rates or the percentage of time people are watching it, whether it is a UGC or a content piece, we're going to evaluate that. But yeah, we're looking at it like any other sales period, and they're kind of the main North Star metrics that we are going to be focusing on. In regards to how we allocate the spend, look, it's based on their goals. One of the main things that you guys share with us in regards to extracting their 2023, I haven't told you this, rather than just looking at 2023 data, I've actually been extracting their last 5 years of data and then getting some averages. So based on those averages, I'm able to sit down with them and then say, look, I'd recommend you spend this period, and this is the amount of new customers I want to achieve, and this is the amount of repeat. And I think that's the way we're approaching it. I think it's logical, and a lot of the brands have been responding quite well to it.
So you're using kind of historical data, extracting it out, mapping, of the 100% of sales that we did in 2024 or 2023, what percentage happened around November? Did our marketing spend on a percentage basis closely correlate to that figure? And then trying to extrapolate that out a year forward. I suppose that makes sense. One interesting thing I think you touched on there, I'd love to get you expand on it, but you kind of mentioned that you're not really looking at ROAS, that you kind of throw your eye over it. I'm sure a lot of people here will use that as their North Star metric. Just curious as to kind of why.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just, I've had too many conversations with people. They're like, Leighton, I'm counting your Facebook, I'm counting my email, I'm counting my Google. This is not adding up. And I've just had that conversation so many times that it's like, when you guys actually did present me with this approach 18 months ago, I was like, this makes so much more sense. And because we've grown too, and we're able to offer kind of the full service approach except for content, I really can sit down with them and I can say, look, we're essentially your marketing department. This is our fee and this is the ad spend. This is basically your marketing department on your P&L. So and I can just say to them, this is how your marketing efforts are contributing to your sales. And they're really happy to have that conversation. But in regards to the ROAS, yeah, it just doesn't tell the true story. It's like, and look, in all fairness, you do have to approach it with omni-channel. People, like I do it myself when I'm purchasing. I look at an Instagram reel, then I go on TikTok and I see a UGC content, and then I'll go into Google and I'll search it. So like, I actually don't blame the platforms. I think they're fair enough to claim the sale, but using it as a mark to allocate your marketing budget is a very slippery slope to be on. So that's kind of, it just came from experience and frustration really, and just really looking for another alternative way to approach it.
Fair points.